Sources tell NBC News that the president-elect, Donald Trump, is expected to pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Trump had previously promised RFK a, quote, big role after RFK abandoned his independent bid for president and endorsed Donald Trump.
And a big role it is. This is Reese, and welcome to Back Porch News. Yesterday, President-elect President Trump formally nominated Robert Kennedy Jr. for the Secretary of Health and Human Services, filling a whole host of campaign promises. Once confirmed, RFK will be the managing executive of the largest single department of the federal government, a department that includes a vast number of other agencies, including human service departments like the Administration for Children and Families, to science and policy branches like the FDA and the National Institutes of Health.
The New York Times describes him like this, as a, quote, environmental lawyer who has no medical or public health degrees and has promoted anti-vaccine conspiracies for years, end quote.
And this is really nonsense. The vaccine denial is one falsehood, but the whole quote is poisoning the well. Most hospital admins do not have significant medical training because they are not the experts in medicine, but in administration. With everything HHS does, there's no reason to demand that the chief is a scientist. He just needs to know whether or not he's being lied to. But Kennedy is not a slouch either. Being a lawyer in the science field, climate and conservation, Kennedy had to know how to read the research in order to make the expert's case to other non-experts, such as judges and juries. And when it comes to vaccines,
the Institute of Medicine has looked at the vaccine schedule and said in their 2011 report, there are over 150 injuries that are likely to be associated with vaccines that have never been studied. So it's the CDC's responsibility to do those studies, and they've been ordered again and again and again to do them, and they have refused. And that's wrong. We need an agency that is putting public health first. They will not tell you that that there's any vaccine that has ever undergone a long-term placebo-controlled trial prior to licensure. They will not, because it's not true.
And that is terrifying. It is true that studies of the short-term side effects are done, and studies of the efficacies of vaccines are also done. But long-term effects need to be recorded too, not merely hand-waved or trusted.
The same companies that got the FDA to lie to us about the addictiveness, lie to every doctor in this country about the addictiveness of oxycodone and get a whole generation addicted. Those are the same companies that make these, other products.
Yeah, look at this chart. There is a lot of bloat and duplication, and a lot of layers to hide corruption and bad results in too.
Regarding the Food and Drug Administration, the agency that is responsible for the safety of our prescriptions, vaccines, cosmetics, our food, even veterinary medicine, an agency that would be under his purview, RFK has said that, quote, entire departments have to go.
And this is exactly why Trump has been elected twice. This is what draining the swamp looks like.
Former Obama White House policy director, MSNBC medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, your first reaction.
Oh, my God. I mean, those of us who have spent our lifetime, kind of decades working in and around in HHS, I'm not kidding, Nicole, my texts are flying off the chain, both Democrats and Republicans saying this can't be real. But Nicole, we're going to see probably the best of the best career staff leaving these agencies potentially hollow that he would oversee.
And can you imagine? RFK plans to shine a light on the underbelly of the system, and the bureaucrats, they start to scurry. And that's a good thing. Let us remember one example of why we might want more accountability in HHS.
On January 9th, 2024, Dr. Anthony Fauci admitted during congressional testimony that the 6-foot social distancing mandate, quote, sort of just appeared, end quote.
Dr. Anthony Fauci now admitting social distancing wasn't based on science. Fauci telling a House committee this week the idea standing 6 feet apart, quote, just sort of appeared.
It's no secret that I think the bloat in the federal government is nonsense bordering on evil. I believe that this has been going on for decades. The food pyramid, anyone? But the way that Fauci and his supporters just made up rules around COVID, many of them in direct contravention to recorded and proven antiviral protocols, this just really demonstrates a breach of the public trust, a trust that RFK plans to restore. At least, that's the view from my back porch. Why don't you let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and we'll catch you next time on Back Porch News.